Hey everybody, thanks for joining. We're going to get started here in a few minutes. If you want to just hang tight. In the meantime, if you want to post in the chat, either on YouTube or in Teams, where you're joining us from, that would be helpful, and get your questions ready.
Yeah. Yep. You can post now if you want it in either of the chats. Start entering questions if you've got any. Yeah, and we'll get started in a few. Hi, everybody. This is Matt, if you don't know me, and I've got Mike with me today. If you've been coming to our office hours for a while, you may notice a few things different. We're not at the big table. We actually are in a new studio that's in the same place that we were in before, but it's kind of a separate space, so we have a little bit more separation between us and the rest of the people we have working with us, so we don't bother them, quite frankly. And it's a little bit better set up for lighting and that kind of stuff too. We're also are without Mitch this month. He is out of town right now, so we've got Emma behind the switchboard and making everything work. So please forgive us if there's anything that goes funky or weird. We aren't the most experienced with this setup, so.
And welcome, Emma. And this is, for those of you who are new, this is a thing that we do every month, where we basically spend an hour inviting people to kind of come and ask questions and help get them unstuck. Our mission is to make you successful, and ultimately we hope that that can cascade down to others in your organizations, and you can help make them successful as well. We focus primarily on Office 365 and the Power Platform and SharePoint and things like that. And so if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I see we've got at least one question already. And then as part of this, if it makes sense for you to come off mute and actually have a real conversation, we can do that as well.
One more thing, we are streaming this to both YouTube and Teams. Teams, unfortunately, or if you're on YouTube, you can put chat. We will respond to that, but you won't be able to come off mute, etc. If you do want to join via the Teams meeting, you're more than welcome to. If you do that, you can come off mute and have a conversation with us. It is in addition to actually putting a question just in chat.
Very good. All right, shall we get right into it?
Yeah, we can get right into it.
All right, so Louisa asked a question. She has read our blog article, How to Set Up a Help Desk App, and she's been trying to follow the instructions, but she's getting stuck at a step. And she's looking for the data menu on the left side of the Power Apps window, which you can open and continue with the instructions. Once the data icon appears, the All Tickets Collection and SharePoint list should show up. And she's getting two error messages. First, against the Login as a Help Desk Admin button, saying, the name is not valid, my profile can't be identified. And second, in the drop-down arrow in the upper left-hand corner unexpected symbol from contains error where paren close is expected. So that seems like a syntax error to me.
Yep.
And so then she also can't save the app because of those errors, which makes sense.
So usually we would share it, but I know I don't have a version of this app. Mitch would.
I also
and he's
don't.
not here. You don't either. So I think usually we wouldn't do this, but I think to kind of look at this, I think we would need you maybe to share your screen, which we can allow you to do.
Share your screen, or if you could post the code snippet in question, in particular the one that has the syntax error, we can kind of take a look at that. And if you just post that in chat, that would be something we can look at and probably pick apart for you.
So I guess we'll give a minute and see if you can post it. If you can't, then we'll see if we can do screen sharing, a quick, short screen sharing. Usually we try to not do that because it can eat up a little bit more time than we have sometimes. But in this case, we may have to. So while we're waiting on that, I have a submit to a SharePoint list that is updating several columns using variables in a hidden form. 2 columns are intermittently not recording the variable values. Any suggestions to hunt this bug? So I have a submit to a SharePoint list that is updating several columns using variables in a hidden form. So hidden form meaning I presume we're talking about Canvas app.
Customized list form.
Yeah. Is it a customized list form? I don't know.
Is it a
that send emails?
Is it a pure Canvas app, or is it just the SharePoint customized list form using Canvas apps?
So Tanya, that's for you. Yep, a Canvas app. Okay. So if you have a Canvas app and then you have a form basically that's hidden, and then basically you're trying to update several columns. So when you have a submit, that would be a submit on a form. Is that right, Tanya? And Tanya, you can come on. I think Emma, is she able to come off mute at this point? Yep. Tanya, if you want to come off mute, you can come off mute and we can talk about it a second.
Sure. So I have a form on a screen that the user can't ever see.
Yep.
And the default values are set to the variables that the user sets as they go through the steps in the app. And then when they get to the end of the steps, there's a review screen to say, yes, this is all the stuff that I want it to say.
Yep.
And when they hit send, then it submits that hidden form.
Okay.
Got it.
And it works fine 99% of the time.
Why are you using the form to do that piece of it?
Because somebody told me that was the best way to do it when I was
that's
learning how to
when
do
you're
it.
yeah. I think that's the default or the out of the box method for like updating a SharePoint list, is just to use the form in a Canvas app.
submit.
Instead of patch.
Right.
Yeah. I have some patch in other places, but this was a technique somebody taught me early on when I was building this app. So,
Yeah, so
I can rebuild it, but
I've done it with patch a lot. The only reason I ask is because so what I'm understanding you say it does is you've got a display that displays static information that's the result of like I filled out all of these things and now I'm ready to submit it. You have a form that's hidden, and that form has a bunch of values in it. Those values are defaulted to the values that you got from variables that were maybe passed in by an object or something into this next screen.
review screen. Yeah.
And then when you click the button, you say submit on that form. Is that basically it?
Yep. And the form is,
And you're
form
saying
is
that
hidden from the user. Yeah.
2 of the fields don't work. The rest of them work just fine, but 2 of them do not work.
They work sometimes.
Okay.
And I can't find a pattern.
So my first comment would be it's possible that someone's hitting submit as soon as they see the button, and the form isn't really all the way ready. That would be one of my comments. Not that I think that that's really what's happened. It's something you could test. You could, because I assume, are you able to get it to happen yourself, or are you just seeing that in data that people are using?
No, it's happening to me.
Okay.
I'm the one doing the testing, so
Got
it's
it.
happening to me.
Okay, and you're
I
not.
thought it was connected to some other variables, but it's not. The pattern disappeared. So.
Yeah, I would recommend doing straight up patch. I mean, the patch is guaranteed to just work, right? Like you're sending those variables in. If those variables have a value, they're gonna work.
Yeah. The only other thing would be is if you've attempted to capture any errors or anything like that on the submit result.
Oh yeah.
On the form.
Or do a monitor session.
Yeah, or do a monitor session to see if there's any, you can maybe
Okay.
capture the data that's being sent.
Yeah.
But honestly, the pragmatic approach would be, as Matt suggested, switch to a patch operation and move on. I mean, I think that's the
Yeah,
quickest way.
So
the form is more visual for me, so it was easier for me to figure out what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, but now that I've been there a while, I might be able to walk it back.
So the other thing would be, have you shown the form so you can see what's going on before you click the submit?
I would have to, yeah, I'd have to add a step in to do that because, like I said, I can't see it at all. There's no way to get to it from the rest of the app.
Yeah, so that could be a thing because
Uh,
if the form isn't like, if it's loading those default values from variables, the state of the form, I would say would be in some kind of question if it wasn't
Okay.
visible.
Well, no. So what may be happening is that so it's lower down the chain of uh, desire in regards to actually populating all of it. Like it doesn't
Right,
know whether or
'cause
not
it's
it's
hidden.
actually going to be used. But the thing, like on the pane on the left hand side, you should be the tree view. You should be able to select it, and from that
Yep.
selection, you should be able to right click and do bring to front, and then make it visible. And it should. I mean, it might be really messy. It might be look really terrible. But you can always send it to back later on and hide it again. But
Okay.
you might want to do that because the other thing is that will tell you whether or not, like if that fixes it, if just showing it now it works all the time, then it has something to do with the fact that it's not visible, and as far as it's concerned on the back end, it's not wanting to do it. It's not wanting to load it.
So moving it to the same screen as the review screen
Oh, wait a
and
minute.
hiding it, is that what you mean?
Oh, so now this is another interesting thing. I had assumed that form was on the same screen. It's not.
No, it's on a different screen that nobody can get to. That's the default values are the variables as they set them.
Got it. Yeah, that can 100% be problematic.
Okay, so do it different.
Or put
Well,
or
the
put
form-
it on the
put
current
it
on the last
form.
screen.
So the
hide it.
challenge becomes like referencing stuff between pages can be a performance problem, number one. But then number two, Power Apps, especially currently, tries to be really smart about what it loads when it loads, because it's trying to everything that it has to load it in the browser's memory and on the Power Apps server. So it's trying to be really smart about that. The more references that you create between the screens, it can create challenges related to that. And so one of the recommendations that you'll see from a performance perspective from Power Apps will be don't reference other screens from, like, just don't do it. Just pass. That's the whole point of context variables. That's the whole point of global variables. Don't be passing stuff around all over the place, or don't be reference everything all over the place, because you create a scenario where your entire Power App, all the screens have to be active all at the same time. So one way to fix it, like Mike said, is to move that form into the screen. When I was talking about it and the variables that you're talking about, what I like, which maybe later on in the session, maybe I can just show you a common pattern that we use, which is to basically pass the data through the screens, through the contexts, and then only deal with those objects that you're passing between the screens, instead of either using a global variable or using, in this case, referencing something from another screen. Does that make sense? Did we lose you, Tanya? You're muted, so that's okay.
Let's hit her second question while we're on her stuff, and then we can jump back to Louisa. So she has flows that are sending emails that have deep links to a record and a particular screen in an app. And if she moves the app to a different environment, will this change the URL or the address, or is there any way to make this dynamic? Read it from the app. So yes,
100%.
it will change the URL. The app will have a different ID in a different environment, as well as the environment itself will have a different GUID that
URL,
represents it. So you'll need to basically dynamically build that URL before you send the email out. The best way to do this is, if you can do it in a solution, assuming you're using solutions to move from environment A to environment B. If you're using a solution, you can build some environment variables into your solution to record things like what is the URL of the environment, and then what is the GUID of the app. and you can use those environment variables in your flow to build that URL to take you to the right app in the right environment with whatever identifier for the record that you care about.
So the other thing that I would say is that I think in flows, there is an API to get access to
The environment itself.
to
and
environments and to the apps, and you might be able. I'm not. This is not something I've tested or looked at, but you could potentially maybe look up the app and then get
look
the,
up the
get the
environment,
URL or
yeah.
look up the environment. That's possible, but honestly, it's probably a lot easier just to create an environment variable and manage it that way.
Yep. I've done it a bunch of times. It works really well, actually. Good question. I like that one a lot. And by the way, we did just, I think there's a blog post and a video out there.
Yeah,
that
there
just,
is. Yep.
we
About
just
environment
launched on
variables.
using environment variables in the Power Platform and some of the benefits there. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. All right. So Louisa posted.
So Tanya, I know we finished what you were saying and you were still on mute. If you still have a question or something, post it in chat, or just let us know. I don't know what's going on there. So, yep, go ahead.
All right. So Louisa updated her chat message, and she included basically the snippet of code that's giving her the issue. So I assume she's in a different locale, which is why we have semicolons being used for commas. Is that a safe thing to assume?
Yeah, it's probably true.
So that was the first thing that drew my attention because we're not used to seeing the semicolons in the middle of a method.
That's true. Yep.
Set of parameters.
Well, that could be. In her locale, I don't know what the end statement is, because if they're using semicolons for
Then you'd have to use something different.
potentially, that could be the whole problem. I don't know. Louisa, if you would like to come off mute, you should be able to come off mute. We can talk a second.
Sure. Hi.
Hi.
So the code is actually copy pasted from the blog article, which surprised surprised me. Yeah. So it surprises me that it generated that error.
Huh.
I'm gonna go.
And
I'm gonna go look at that real
what
quick.
I tried to do actually at the beginning was where you have the laptop PC software issue and then the PC equipment issue. I actually tried to have other names to the columns, and it did not work with
Got
those
it.
either. So I replaced them just to make sure that it can work with the information that has been given in the blog article, but it does not.
Do you see what she's talking about in regards to the?
I'm looking for the snippet in the article right now.
I can paste the link to the article in the meantime in the same chat thread also.
I have it up. If you want to share my screen, Emma, just so we can verify. I'm showing commas in my version. So I wonder if she's in a different locale, if it's converting those commas to something.
Yeah.
And then that would totally. So if
Do you
whatever
have a different-
locale
do you
you're
have a-
in.
Yeah. Do you have a different locale on your machine? Do you know?
I'm in Sweden, but I did not check that.
You probably have a different keyboard even, right? Like, because I think.
Yes, but I know how to use it so that it will generate the.
No. I didn't mean it like that. That's not what I meant. What I meant is that that it's possible that somehow it converted it. Yeah. Are you sharing? He's sharing his screen. So this is what.
It's the same, and you have a semicolon there also.
Oh,
right?
so in right here, this is a comma.
By the way,
Sure.
I think that now I see it. Yeah.
I'm gonna post
Comma, and what do I have? And I have
semicolons, and the semicolons I think are the problem.
Yep.
Because that's just not valid, and so we thought that it is true that if you have your environment set up in Power Apps to be a completely different environment, it will sometimes be use different characters for different things, right? Because commas are supposed to be for decimals. Like there are some differences. It can cause that, but in this case, I think it's possible that it's just it's an issue.
And so from a syntax standpoint,
I can try. Okay. I can try to replace those with comma. I
Replace those and see what happens.
I did not see it before. Okay, sure. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll be right here.
Yeah. And if it's still a problem, we can keep talking about it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
All right.
Next, we've got Jonathan. Yep. I'm getting an error when trying to log in as an admin on the help desk app. like I'm not an admin. 2, I'm not getting the email as a user when creating a ticket on the help desk page. Do you have a video or blog that walks through the file attachments in Power Apps? I want the user to be able to attach a file or image to the ticket and then be able to see the file on the item in SharePoint. So we don't have a blog. We could potentially walk through that a little bit later here. Let's talk about the first one. I'm getting an error when trying to log in as an admin on the help desk app. What's the error you're getting? Like, Jonathan, if you want to come off mute.
My assumption would be he.
Hi, yeah, so it's like you're not an admin, so you don't have permission to go into the admin screen.
Yep. So have you set up the on visible or on load of the to set up the admin user? So like if you look at Louisa's comment at the right after yours in chat, she actually copied and pasted the exact chunk of code. There's a clear collect admin list, and then in her case, she's got her email address right there. That you need to find that same piece of code and make sure that your email address is included in that clear collect, and then that should work for you.
Yeah, so I actually have that code on visible in like the blog said, and I have my email on that part on admin list, but I keep getting the error.
So I don't.
Your code doesn't say user@microsoft.com. It says your email address.
Yeah, I can copy and paste it so you can see.
So again, I don't know very much about how that works. The admin list.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but where does it actually check it?
So this is in the on visible, right? Mm-hmm. This is no longer in the on start.
Yeah, this is just where it sets it up. Somewhere when you go to the admin section, it checks it against something. And the thing that I would check is to make sure that it's like it's possible. So you said you put your email address in. It's possible people have like 7 or 8 email addresses potentially. You have to put the one that Office 365 knows as your primary email address, the UPN. So that may be the issue, but I don't really know because I don't know where it's.
Yeah, so I thought about that, and I actually put like commas and put like 6 versions of my email, of my work email,
yep.
And I kept getting the
the
error.
Mike, you don't happen to know the line of code that's doing it, right? Because the thing to do there would be to say, hey, I think it's this my profile. I think if you look in the my profile, it's probably the email address is what they're using.
That is what they're using. They're matching it against the email address from the my profile.
So Jonathan, the thing that I would do is if you go in and open up this section of code in the formula bar and then hover over my profile, you should see a bunch of content. And if you look at that my profile, you should be able to see email address, and whatever's there is what you're going to need in the admin list. I'm not saying it's not. It sounds like probably it is, but that would be the first thing I'd want you to check, is to just be 100% sure that what that value is what is in that clear collect.
I'm looking around to see if we have the help desk app anywhere in one of the environments.
I feel like we have it in one of the environments locally. I don't think I have it in my test and my demo environment, which is the one that I usually share on these.
I know, yeah.
But if you find one, yeah, let me know.
I'll look around for it.
So while you're looking at that, Jonathan, let me look at the other question that you had a second. I'm not getting the email as a user when creating a ticket on the help desk app. Okay. I presume that is happening as a Mike. I don't know. You know more about it than I do. The email piece of that app, I presume it just uses the Outlook connector within Power Apps. It doesn't go to a flow or anything, right?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
This is one of those. These are a bunch of questions that, like, Mitch is the one that last walked through that. Yeah. It would be helpful if he was here.
The thing I would say is that I think that's probably where it's at. I think the question or the thing that I would check on would be, do you know, Jonathan, do you know how to monitor a Power App, a running Power App?
No, not really.
Okay. So I can walk through that quick, but I would try to monitor it and look at what is going on in that piece of it. So let me... Are we sharing my screen? Okay, good. Excellent. So I'm going to just create a test one because I don't have your specific one, but I will just simulate what you're going through here. So somewhere on here we have a button, and in the on select of the button, let me go here, 365 Outlook. It's probably doing something like this. Delete. Yep, send mail. It's probably doing something like this, I would guess.
I'm adding the help desk app to my environment.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just as is from the Microsoft templates. So at least we'll have a baseline.
And then subject. And then we'll do some sort of body. I think that's all we need. I don't know what else this thing takes, but we'll call that good. So I'm just going to make this happen. So we'll save this. And we'll publish it. So the concept of monitoring is basically a way for you to look at what's been going on and troubleshoot something that's active in the field. You don't necessarily have to do that to see what if you're the only one doing with it, like you could try to do other debugging here, but it's a great way to watch what's going on. And so even if it doesn't help you with this, it may help you with other future issues. So basically what you can do is I can come here and I can click on monitor. So I'm going to do two things, actually. I'm going to click this, which will open me a new version of the app, and I'm going to click monitor. So by going to monitor, you can actually try to connect. So I can say I want to invite someone. So I can invite somebody, or I could connect to an existing user and do which in this case, I don't think it's going to let me connect to just myself. But you could connect to someone else. But in this case, I'm just going to click play the published app. And what's going to happen here is you can see it's going to do stuff. And so if I click this button and it has this little dot here telling you that you're being watched, basically. And if I click this button, you're going to see that the select got called and a send email got called and it was 200, right? And if I click on this, you're going to see the button was selected, the formula or the request happened, and it went, the to was this, and the subject was this, and the body was this, right? So if you can see this and you can go look at this and you see that it sent it to who you think it should send it to, and it's like that worked, then like it's an email problem, it's a something else problem, right? You also would be able to see a response. So in this case, it's going to tell me a 200, meaning it was good. So the status of this is 200. That's a HTTP response, and that just means it's good. So if I go back to, this is sent to my test account here. So if I look here, I should see that I got a test email. Yep, and I got a test one right here.
Okay.
So that would be like, I don't know that you have to go through all of that for what you're doing because you're probably the one testing it, but this would be like, this is monitoring what's really going on in real time for that scenario that you're working on. And so you can be 100% sure what's happening.
Yep. So just a quick follow-up on the admin situation. It's doing a simple lookup of basically my profile.mail is in the admin list. That's all it's doing. And then it's just setting a isAdmin flag variable.
Oh, wait a minute. So then, okay. So when you said that I'm going to go back to your comment here. You can stop sharing my screen. So when you're in here and you have this admin list, you said you comma delimited it. That won't work really. If what you did was take the end of it and put a comma and do the next one and comma and do the next one, it's expecting this to be a list. So you would need to do collect. So the proper way to do this, if you wanted to have multiple, so it could be that you have multiple and that's your real problem. But what's really going on here is you want to do code. I'm putting another piece of code in here in chat. So give me just a second. So you want it to look like this, where that second one is the new email. So the first one's going to clear out any old admins in the admin list and put the Jonathan Polo, that your thing. But then the second one is going to add new email to that collection.
Got it. Okay, I'll do that.
And then the other item in terms of the email and the attachment business. So as I see it, the create ticket action, the button that's clicked, is basically just doing a patch into the SharePoint list, the ticket list.
Yep.
And so there's no attachments, no anything else going on. That's all it's doing. So if you wanted to upload an attachment, you'd have to capture that attachment in the form, that file, let them upload it. And then a couple things would need to happen. One is you'd need to first get the item created in the list so that you have something to attach it to. And then there are a number, I don't know if we have a blog post on this or not, but there are a number of helpful articles out there on the internet that talk about uploading an attachment to an item in a SharePoint list. And so that's actually something that you'll need to do through calling a flow to do that.
Yeah.
And then once that's uploaded, my suggestion would be you would set another flag on the item that you just created in the list that would basically say, hey, I'm ready to email this to somebody. So some is ready for send, true, false, yes, no field. You set that to yes, and then you'd have another flow potentially that would watch for that flag to get set to true or yes, and then you would basically take the item and all of its contents and send it in an email. You could do it right after the flow that uploads the attachment, but I like to separate things and make them modular so that if you ever needed to call them independently from each other, you could do that. So that would be what I would recommend. But I don't see anything in the out-of-the-box help desk app today that, it doesn't support attachments. It's like pretty bare bones in as far as that goes. So you would need to facilitate that with a couple flows.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Get back to our questions list.
Okay, so Louisa is
Still the same issue?
Still there though. Yep, still having the same error. Louisa, the one of the errors that you had was unexpected symbol from form contains error when paren close is expected. So that is the error. And it's a drop-down error in the upper left-hand corner. I presume that's an upper left-hand corner of the form. When you click on that, it should take you to some code that says the problem. Like if you click on that, click the drop-down and click on it, it should take you to the code. Is that the same code that we've been talking about this whole time? And you should still be able to come off mute if you want to.
Yes, I'm just checking just now.
Okay. Because I want to fix that first before, there's another one which is like, hey, it's saying the name's not valid. That's likely because we got some other thing going on.
We don't have any new questions. You want to let her share a screen?
I mean, I'm okay with it. If she wants to share a screen, if she feels comfortable with that.
Yeah, okay. The share button is though.
I think we're still giving you access to that. I think you have to click on her. So on yep, and then I think you have to do it from the you have to do that from the people list. Yep, and then click the and allow. Yep. You should be able to do it now.
Here we go. So here it is. And I'm sorry, it's in Swedish, but
no, that's all right.
Yeah, but the code is the same.
Okay, so it's all on visible. So on that, can you minimize the formula bar and then hover over that X, the red X that you've got?
You mean the top one, this one?
Yes. Yep. Just hover over it for a minute. I just want to see what it's at, which hopefully it, I don't know whether you may have to translate it for me, but.
So it says I translated it in the
So it's the same as what
in
you
the
translated?
chat.
Which
Yeah,
one
yeah,
is it?
exactly.
Is it the unexpected symbol?
Yes, unexpected symbol, yes.
Okay,
And then
got
it
it.
says that the formula contains an error where parent close
Got it.
should be expected.
Got it. Okay. So click on that again, and then click that pencil, and that should bring up which I think is the same thing you had before. Click the drop down.
Yeah.
Let's.
Now this one is the cleaned up code
Yep,
with
yep.
the commas instead of the semicolon.
Yep. And then scroll down a little bit. So
That's
I see clear collect not showing the right thing. I think you have a different end line character in your locale. Scroll up a minute. I don't remember what it is, but click on that end of that first line. Delete it. Yeah, it has all sorts of problems with it because it doesn't like. No, not the whole line. Sorry, I apologize. Bring that back. No, so I think what's going on is there is a different character you should be using, but I don't know what it is. We actually were working with a Swedish person last time, and
He was actually Dutch, I think.
but he was working in Sweden or
He was
something.
from the Netherlands. Yeah, I don't know. But he had
It's
a
okay.
similar
I'm from
challenge.
Romania originally, so it's okay.
So I think it's the same thing. I just don't know what it is. Try. I wish I remembered what.
I'm trying to find a way to figure that out.
I think it's power. Just a second. Yeah, decimal separator is language dependent. Yeah, line separator, list separator is language dependent. Formula chaining is language. Yeah, so this is okay. We need to look at what this is. Formula separators. So for chaining, yeah, okay. We'll shift based on the decimal separator author's language. Fields and record. Yeah, okay. So it is supposed to be semicolons for you. So put a semicolon where that where that comma is.
Everywhere?
Well, we're gonna try one line. We're gonna try one line first. At the end, put double semicolons, and that's I think what it is.
Yes, that's familiar.
Like so?
Yep, and now it works. See how it turned clear collect to blue? That means that first line is good, right? So that's one of the reasons I can tell. So when I looked at, so if you go back to what you had before, so like get rid of a couple, one of the semicolons at the end. If you get rid of one of them.
In the first line, you mean?
Yep. So you can see how set is blue, which means it figured that part out, and it figured out some of the rest of it, but it's stuck at the end, right? And so then once you fix that line, so put that semicolon back at the end of that first line. Sorry, I'm pointing at the screen that you can't see. Now the clear collect, the next line shows up blue, which means that first line should be all good, no syntax errors, and you can look at the next line. And so the next line, you got to change it to be a semicolon instead of a comma, and then a double semicolon at the end. And then I think you're good.
On all the lines.
And you got to do it for all the lines. Yep.
Okay.
Wait, so it's still saying a problem.
Here.
It's still saying a problem.
Okay.
Let's hover over what does it say that the first red, what does it say?
The function clear collect has
invalid argument.
Some invalid arguments, yeah.
So I would continue to do the rest of them, and then I would see what happens. My guess is help desk is something that it doesn't like, but I don't know why. So let's do the rest of the lines, and then you can take a look at it.
So it should be semicolon instead of comma.
Yep.
And 2 semicolons at the end of each line.
Yep.
Okay, I'll be here. Thanks.
Okay. Cool.
I think that help desk thing is like a reference variable to the list.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Which maybe means it needs to be IT tickets or something, which is what she's doing. I don't know, but We'll see what
yeah,
happens
maybe so,
when she
yep.
gets through. Okay, cool. If you want to stop sharing for a minute so that we can go back to everything else, we'll see if there's any more questions. I haven't seen very much show up on YouTube, so it'd be great to see if somebody's watching from out there. Usually we type in there and like make a comment and start the conversation, but I don't think we have yet. But if you're out there and you have a question on YouTube, feel free to put a comment in, and we would be happy to answer them.
Looks like we were able to help Jonathan fix at least the first question.
Cool.
The first issue that he had. Fix the admin issue. He's working on the email part now.
Awesome. We're making progress.
Tanya is back, and she's asking another question. Any resources for using collections to count items in lists to show as metrics for an app?
That's a challenging one. Metrics meaning like I want to show a graph of how much, what's been going on. Is that, Tanya, you should be able to come off mute if you want to have a discussion with us about that. Do you mean like for a graph or for a report or for like, there's X number of items related to this thing?
So what I'm doing is, same app, and again, sorry I had to walk out on you guys.
No, it's totally fine.
Stuff happens. So the user inputs this information and it gets saved to the list, and those columns that are recording are the ones that's intermittent recording. Some of it, what it's recording is org chart data.
Okay.
And I want to figure out from my org chart how many for each. So how many have come from each different branch or section.
Oh, yep.
And I can do it in Power BI, but I'm concerned about using Power BI because of all the refresh issues and the things about data calls and all that. I got a Dataverse and I got an environment and all that, but I'm afraid to use it because I'm afraid it's not going to work. So I'm trying to do it differently. So I'm using a gallery, listing taking the org chart list and listing all of the branches and sections, in separate collections. So we have 250 people on the org list. They have 10 different branches and 20 different sections, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that master collection of the branch, I want to show how many have sent or received for that branch.
Yeah.
And then same thing for the sections.
How many items are you going to have maybe in your list?
It's a pretty small list. Maybe 500. I'd be ecstatic if it was 1,000. It's a workforce engagement app, so it's gonna be a one-off. It's like a shout out.
So it'll be quite some time before, or if ever it ever gets to be a real delegation.
That is the big issue is with counts and summary stuff. Like if it can't delegate it for whatever reason because you're not doing it correctly or because the data source that you're connecting to doesn't do it, it can be problematic. But doing a summary count in Power Apps is totally feasible. If you do it against SharePoint, it does do delegation. If I remember correctly, I'm 99% sure. If you did it to to Dataverse, it would also be delegated. The key is to make sure that it's actually delegating. You can do things where you end up with a collection because you're storing it in a variable and now it's not going to be delegating, right? You're going to need the whole collection. It sounds like you probably have all the whole collection potentially anyways. So I don't know if that's a real issue, but that's probably the biggest thing to worry about. In regards to how to actually do it, it sounded like you need some grouping too. So you need to count where these things are happening. There is a summary thing. I haven't, I don't remember that I've done a ton with it, but there is PowerFX provides there is a summary or summarize function that can do grouping. That may be something for you to look into.
I don't know, you might.
I did the group to make the collection. But I've had to make like 6 collections, and I'm like, this can't be the way. Is this really the way we, And then to get it to sort, and it seems.
I don't know exactly. I need to know a little bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah.
You do end up creating additional collections sometimes. Like it does happen. There are lots of things you can do to make it not do that, right? So you don't have to do it that way, but that's oftentimes the easiest way for people to think about it. And so then, because otherwise you end up with, you know, a big chunk of code to produce this one thing, right?
Yeah.
But that doing it that way could be a much more performant way to do it, but it's just a lot to keep in your mind about how you're doing it and the structure you're doing, you're doing how you're doing it basically.
I've tried an add column on another
Yep.
piece of this, but is there a way to see it after it's had the column added to it
Yeah,
to make
so
sure that's right?
yeah, for sure. So I'll bring up my example here, and it won't be the best example in the world, but we'll try it out and see what we get. I gotta go here, I think.
I'm bug hunting that too, and if I could see what it's adding, it would help me, you know, do the
Yeah,
bug
for
hunt.
sure.
But I don't want to make a collection for it. I liked the add column idea over yet another collection. So.
Yeah. So the two things I'll tell you about, like, are you familiar with as, the word, the command as?
I haven't used it, but yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I would use that as much as you possibly can, because whenever you're doing these add column and an add column and a filter and a, like, it gets really, really, really difficult to for it to figure itself out, basically, because it's very difficult to understand which thing you're dealing with. So I'm gonna put a semicolon. I'll just do a let's do a, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. We'll see. Let's just do call. Let's just do this. So we now should have a collection with this. So now one thing that I would do here is you can go here, and when I go here, and well, in this one I don't think I can do it, but here if I do this, I think we'll see what it brings up. This bottom section tells you about what's going on. So if I do add columns as I would do something like this maybe, and I think I got to do capital A, and then if I remember right, you say the column name, I think, is the next thing I have to do. Last or something maybe, and then if I give it a expression and do, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm gonna do it like that maybe. I don't know whether or not that'll work. We'll see. So I think if I go here, data type table, yeah, it didn't give me anything. Yeah, it didn't give me anything. So I think that's because this hasn't run yet. So let me.
Okay.
So there's nothing there. So I'm gonna click. Alt. There we go. So I'm gonna click it, and the button clicked, and then I'm gonna go back in here. But basically, if this had data initially, you can see that hovering it tells me what the output is gonna be. And so it already has a name, so it's gonna, or it already has last, and it would add it. So if I were to, I'll do this a little differently so that you can better see what's going on. So I will add this to the onVisible of this. Like this, and this. No, not that, and this. Okay. So
I do that all the time.
where it goes in the wrong thing. Yeah.
Yes, I hate. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually gonna do a new screen so that I just have a blank screen so I can flip between two. So now for sure the onVisible's been run, and I can click in here and I can look at this and go. If I hover over call, if I double click call, it's going to show me that, hey, currently it's just got Mike in it. If I come over here and I highlight all of this, it's going to say, oh, after this would run, this is what you're going to get.
And does that work when it's a list you're adding columns to?
When you say list, I don't know what you mean.
A SharePoint list.
So you're not actually adding. So in the case of a SharePoint list, you're not adding. You should think about it not as adding a column to a list. You're adding a column to a collection. And this is the same thing basically, right?
So it's basically doing it in the background. It's just starting with the list.
Correct. Yep, that's exactly it.
But you can't see it as a collection then.
So what
right?
happens
Is that the problem?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is when you run this first thing where you say call C and then do add columns, the first thing it's going to do, which is why you need to worry about this the delegation. What that's going to do is it's going to pull down the collection, everything from that collection from the list basically, and then add these columns onto it. That's what it's going to do. So the way that I would which is I think fine for what you're talking about doing, the counts and stuff, because you could do something here where you say, you could do. I think there's a number of ways to do it. I would probably group it first or something, and then try I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. But the biggest thing that I was trying to show you is that this should work. Like for the most part, I use this all the time without having. I just highlight what I want and then just look at what the output is, because that's going to tell you. Even if I had this in a big, huge, long list of commands, if you whatever you highlight, it's going to basically try to real time at runtime assess what that would do and give you a result.
And see, I was trying to do it just by clicking at the end of I didn't know about the highlighting parts. I knew because I'd seen it happen before accidentally, but I didn't know how to make it. So it's a highlighting issue.
It's a highlighting issue. Yep.
That's huge help.
Yep. So
that's
when you click next to it, so like if I click on call, it'll automatically try to do it sometimes. So like when you click in certain places, it'll try to be smart. But when you highlight, it'll go, okay, cool. I'm going to take whatever you highlighted and try to do something with it and give you some value back.
Perfect. That's a great tip. Thank you.
Cool.
So it's interesting, the problem that she's trying to solve. She had mentioned she had Dataverse, but she was concerned about going into it. Like, I'm thinking about this whole thing.
I'm afraid of it.
At a macro level, and I'm like, I think the application that you're building probably doesn't warrant Dataverse. You probably don't want to end up having to pay for licenses for your users. If by happenstance all of your users were licensed, Dataverse
would be way better.
Great tool to use, because what you're talking about building and the effort that you're going through to build it, it's basically built in as a view and a chart on the view. Like
and they told me I wouldn't have any expenses with Dataverse unless I added premium connectors, which I'm not.
Well,
I think
not
that
really
everybody
true.
has.
So if
that's just what
it depends on the flavor of Dataverse that you're going to use. If you're using
GCC.
if it's GCC, but if you're using like Dataverse proper, then every user who accesses data in that Dataverse needs a Power Apps per user license, or if they're accessing it through a single app, they can be licensed with a Power Apps per app license. However, if you use Dataverse for Teams, you can.
It's too limited. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like
if you're doing a Canvas app, it's fine.
If you're doing a Canvas app, it's fine. You won't have all of the bells and whistles in the widgets, but the data will be there.
Yeah.
But
the licensing also won't be a problem. So I want to be really clear about this. So the key is that the Dataverse connector is a premium connector, right? Mm-hmm. So you can use Dataverse all day long for free, no problem. Use it. But the connector for Dataverse, for users to connect to Dataverse data, is a premium connector.
And that's where
that's what I thought too. But when I kept asking more questions, they come back saying different things. So that's why I'm confused.
So the thing I would tell you is that if you can use it, I would use it all day long. Yeah. It'd be way easier. There's so many problems with using SharePoint data sources. There's so many problems with migrating data, managing data, building your data into solutions, being able to add columns as you're promoting solutions. But like it is the way to go in doing that if you can use it. If you really can't use it because your users don't have licenses for it, then definitely what you're doing right now is the way to go. But if that is available, I would strongly encourage you to look into using it.
If you're GCC, there's like we have some experience with some clients that are GCC, and it's very possible that in your world, Microsoft has cut a sweetheart deal for whatever organization you're a part of, and everybody has a license because they've been trying to do that with some of the clients that we're involved with GCC, because
or they have a special carve out license. We've had that a couple times.
If you look at a state government, for example, that's a lot of users. If Microsoft can figure out how to sell them 50,000
Right.
licenses a month,
Well, that's only part of it. The other big thing is that this isn't a Microsoft discussion all the way along, but Microsoft sales team gets paid based on usage, not based on sales. So they don't really care whether or not the salespeople don't care whether or not they sold you it. They would love your app because it's going to get people to use Dataverse, and if they really did sell it, they would love for you to get involved and do that stuff. But if I had to guess, people just don't realize the difference. Like whoever you're talking to, they don't realize that you can create data and put data in the Dataverse, but in order to connect to it, it's a premium connector, so you have to have licenses for it.
but I would
I'm afraid if I build it, no one can come. So then I've wasted my time rebuilding. And
I would ask the question the next time you talk to them and they say
ask it.
There's no additional cost. I would simply ask why.
or I would try it out. And the reason I say that is because I can't. It will transform how you think about doing this type of work by being able to use the Dataverse. If you can use it, you should. I can't tell you enough that you should try to use it.
Well, and that's why I asked for it, but now I'm having second thoughts and the trust issues, I guess.
Well, and I can understand. I understand it completely why you're not. It is not unfounded for you to have those concerns, but it would probably wouldn't be difficult to throw up a Canvas app that connects to a Dataverse thing, give it to a user, try it and see what they get.
Yeah.
And if it works and it functions, you should strongly look at it. If it doesn't work, I would kind of go, they don't know what they're talking about, and just move on.
And make sure it's a user that hasn't asked for a Dataverse.
Correct. That doesn't have some other licensing that you don't know about, which you can also, by the way, I don't know whether or not you're aware of this, but you can also check that, or have someone check that.
Okay.
So if somebody's in Dataverse or in Power Apps, they can click on this plans, and this tells you what license you have. So my user right now just have Power Apps for Office 365 license.
Okay.
Make sense?
Great. Thank you. Yes.
All right,
Thank
we
you.
have, just a few minutes left. Maybe we can help Louisa finish up. She went back and I think attempted what we had done on the other error that she had. Louisa, if you want to share your screen and we can try to attack it in the 2 minutes we have left.
Sure. So the first line of code seems to be all right, but then I try to remove the semicolon on the second one, and then it brings back the error message on the button that says login as a help desk admin.
But
The good part is though
But
this looks
that
good, right?
now that
this looks fixed.
yes, it
Okay,
does,
okay,
but not
okay.
here up.
Oh, okay. And what does that
This
say?
is still on. That the name is not valid. Help desk
desk.
cannot
It doesn't
be
look help desk.
identified.
So help desk is I don't know what this was originally. I think the problem is that IT tickets, which is what you have your SharePoint list, is what the help desk is supposed to be. And so I feel like maybe if you just change it to IT tickets, it might fix it, but I'm not 100% sure. I would maybe just try to do IT tickets. Yep, and then but go back to the beginning. Just do IT first, and then select it from down below.
Yep.
It's going to want you to put it in quotes.
It's giving you some IntelliSense. So because you have a space in the name, it wants to put single quotes around it.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, you have to put the space between the IT and the tickets. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And then put a semicolon or a comma or a apostrophe at the end. And now let's see what it says. Does it work now? Maybe it'll work. We'll see.
It appears so.
At least you don't get an error, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Now you can
I
save
can
that.
continue on my own.
Cool.
Good deal. We did it. I'm
Thank
impressed
you.
we did it.
So I see one more thing. There's the little
yeah.
stethoscope thing. Click that once. I just want
App
to see what's
checker.
in that. The app checker. Yep. Formula. So it's got a couple formula errors. Okay. So you might end up needing to work through those before you can actually close it out. If on the right it says Formula 72. If you expand that out, you're gonna have a bunch of It's gonna have some stuff. I don't know what that says. So it looks like it's probably not super. Or maybe
It's
it's a
not done yet,
duplicate.
okay.
Maybe it's a duplicate or something. Scroll up to the top and just click on one of those.
So those errors are happening on other screens.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go to on the left-hand side in the tree view, the layers, on the yep. Click
Yeah.
the layers, and then you'll see your other screen. So click that. Yep. And then scroll down in that list in that tree view and find one of the other screens. Like pick any one of them. Yep. Because I suspect there was errors on most of them. So there's another error. And so
then click on that X.
click on the little red X.
Yep.
And let's open that formula. And so there you go. There's another reference to help
Help
desk.
desk. You need to change
And
that.
so that needs to be changed to IT tickets. So you probably have that
Okay.
on the other screens as well.
And it looks to me like the semicolons are a problem because there really should be double semicolons in some cases.
No, I think she's good there.
Really?
I think those look good to me.
Oh, it's hard for me to
Isn't-
see
there's
which
a
whether or
new
not it's an
line.
end. Yeah, I got it now. I got it, yeah. Yep.
And then,
And then-
at the very top, there's another one.
The parentheses disappeared from here.
Yeah, you want to put and double semicolon,
Yep, one more semicolon there.
double. Yep, and then fix the help desk on the top line.
Which there is a search replace. So if you click on the bottom, yeah, first fix this one manually.
This one, you mean, right?
Yep, just click that. Yep.
There you go.
But that one removes
Removes
the,
the end, I know.
parentheses and
I
the,
know.
and the semicolon.
So click the search in the bottom left. So like where the tree view was that you saw, there's a little search thing bottom, more to the left, and then down. It's right above the gear in the left side.
Little
Yep.
magnifying glass.
Yep, right there.
Okay.
Up, one more. Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
Click that
see it,
once.
Yeah.
You can actually search for help desk or help. Well, it was a help desk,
Help
right?
desk, one word, capital H, capital D.
Okay, so this is going to tell you where all of that exists. You've clicked you can click filter, and you can filter it to just so on the upper right next to where you typed in the search results, you click that, and there should be an option to filter it. You want it to be, I don't know, it's hard. I thought that I know one's variable, but there's
Variables,
the
data.
These are collections. This is data, media, flow, components, and screens.
Yeah, I mean, you may want to just, it may be components and screens, but basically, like if you click on that, scroll down in that logic, see how it says background and then it's got help desk? That doesn't matter, but scroll down a little bit more.
Those matter.
Those matter, and
Right.
you'll need to fix those, right? So where it says data source help desk,
Okay.
that needs to be something different. So there is I think it's the other tab, ERSATT, SRAT or something. I think that's replace. So you could use that to try to replace, but you could also just go through this and if you click on that help desk in the data source, see where it says FX data source just click on one of them.
Yeah, you mean from the beginning? Okay.
Well, no,
Not those
we
ones.
know
Those
we don't
ones are
those
good.
matter because that is just that's not just the word help desk, right? But these ones like that choices, all of those matter, and you're going to need to change them. So if you click on one, it shows right there. If you copied that what you had, which was the quote and the IT tickets, right? If you copied that, you could just paste it on top of it, and you can just go down this list and keep pasting it, and it's a quick way to just fix them all, right? So now just highlight that IT tickets, highlight the quote to the other quote, all the way, and then copy it. So Control C or right click and then do copy.
Yeah.
And then
Do I miss anything here? Because it doesn't seem that this one got resolved yet. Or
I mean, there's a
Or is
lot of
this
stuff
fine?
on that particular one. So that one
That
looks
one
like
looks
it's
good.
resolved to me.
There's no red squigglies.
I
on
don't
it.
see any red squigglies. I think that one's good.
Okay.
But there's a lot of other ones on that same page that have the problem. So you're going to need
Yeah,
to
I
basically,
see.
I would, but wait a minute.
Okay.
Did you copy it? Okay.
Yeah, she did.
Okay. Now
yeah, I
you can
did. I
just,
did.
Double click and
you could just
paste.
paste.
Yep,
Click on
fixed.
the next one and then don't click anything else. Just click on the next one once, one of the other ones. So don't mess with that one because that one's good. That one is not a data source. It's like a flow, and that's fine. Like the remove, maybe. Yep. Just paste right now. Don't do anything. Just paste. It's already highlighted. Yep. So you don't have to do anything else. All you have to do is click on it, and if it's one that you should replace, paste. That's all you have to do. Cool?
Yeah, but this one
Yeah, so you didn't-
highlights something else on the desk. Than the
It's
help
because
desk.
it hasn't refreshed since you changed the because you pasted
Okay.
IT tickets and it's more text than help desk. So you would have to run the search again. So see the refresh button on the search, right under the search button? Yep, right there. So now this has an updated list, and I would just work from the top down and just click that refresh button every once in a while and just keep going until you get them all.
Okay.
Make
Let's
sense?
hope that.
Good deal. Good tip.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope that this will be it and that it will run afterwards.
It should
Thanks
be,
so much for the help.
It should be much
Welcome.
better than what you had, so. Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that about does it. I don't see any other questions. I don't see any questions on YouTube either, so I think we're good. You're gonna knock my water over.
Right at
before it's over?
the end, I was
Right
gonna
at
do.
the
I
end?
told you earlier that I
Disaster.
was not gonna do it.
Disaster
But
averted.
then I about did it.
Right.
Cool. Thanks everybody for joining. I know we didn't have Mitch here, so I think, but I think it ran great. I think we ran wonderfully.
Who needs Mitch?
I think the only thing was somebody was missing the hold music because it took us a while to figure that out early. But I think we're figured out now. And thank you for everybody joining. Thanks Emma for doing a great job of commanding this session. And we'll see you guys in a month.
We're out.